Well, I want to welcome everybody to the Convene webinar number 2. My name is Mark Ottestad, and I'm one of the principals here at Convene. And so today, we're continuing our series with our CEO Summit sponsors. Last time we had Dave Diaz. This time we have Pamela Wasley from Cerius Interim Solutions, Executive Solutions, leading us through this whole conversation about millennials and how we might get the most out of them and have them be a part of our organization. So I thank you. We'll be about a little over 30 minutes long. We'll have time for Q&A at the end. There will be some survey work going on, and at the end of the day, we'll post this on our new website that I'm just looking at today. That'll be up, I think, October 1. So exciting things going on. So off we go. I want to welcome you to Convene and kind of introduce you to who we are. If you're not familiar, we are a trusted community of Christian CEOs. Today we have 500 CEOs, presidents, and business owners that are committed to what? Propelling each other towards industry-leading performance and purpose. We do that in small teams of 8 to 15, and if that's something you might have an interest in, I certainly want to extend an invitation to learn about Convene. But let me get on with the show and introduce you to Pamela Wasley. She's a longtime friend that operates a really exciting business called Cerius Interim Executive Solutions. She's bought and sold a couple companies. She helps people, through the whole valuation process of figuring out what the secret sauce is for people's businesses and really helps them to find talent. She's authored a couple of books. She speaks a lot, and I'm just really pleased. So I do want to talk about Cerius just for a minute because, as she talks about millennials, the question would be, do you have leaders that can lead millennials? And she helps bring leaders into business environments on an interim basis. So it could be a sales executive, a sales management person, technology management executive, all the way up to CFO, CEO, but certainly a wide spectrum of how do you find high-level, high-capacity difference makers for your organization. So here she comes to bring you some information about millennials. I certainly encourage you to have a conversation with her. She's just a valuable resource to me, and she might spend some time exploring some options for you. She's a resource to know, and I would call her my friend. Let me introduce to you Pamela Wasley.
Thanks, Mark, and you're making me blush here. But anyway, good morning to everybody that's attending the webinar today. And I'm going to be talking about the workforces of the future and 8 things that you should be doing right now. But before we start, I got a couple questions for you. One is, what percentage of your workforce today are millennials? And that's usually between the age of 18 to 33. So if everybody will select the answer that's most appropriate for their company, I'll wait just a couple seconds. Okay, do we have results yet? All right, there we go. No answer on 37%. Come on, guys. And by the way, I'm actually kind of surprised at where the majority of you voted, which is 30 to 50%, because typically that's not the answer I get. I usually get somewhere in the B area, which is 10 to 20%. So good for you guys. That's fantastic that you're using more and more millennials. Great. Second question. How confident are you in your ability to lead millennials today? Very confident, confident, so-so, or not so confident? All right. And by the way, you know, don't feel bad. These are exactly the answers I get from CEOs today. It's usually so-so or not so confident. Millennials are tough. I mean, they're different generation, and you just got to know how to work with them, which is why Mark put me up here today to talk a little bit about how you can manage your millennial staff. So let's talk about the three things that are changing in the workforce today. One being technology, another one demographics, the other one the global economy. These things are affecting your workforce today. Technology, let's start with technology. Did you know that the telephone took 75 years to connect 50 million people globally? And I'm sure you thought that the iPad's been around forever, but you know what? It's only been around for 4 years. And it took Apple 2 years to reach those same 50 million people globally. And Angry Birds reached 50 million customers in 30 days. So you can see technological changes are accelerating unbelievably fast. And you also have online staffing firms now, which is making it easy for you to find your workforce out there. You know, technology is making it easier to recruit, find talent. That started with Career Builder, then with Monster, then with LinkedIn. So if you're not using some of these tools to find your workforce today, you're missing out. HR professionals are going to need to keep abreast of rapidly changing technology, both to ensure that employees receive training to keep their skills competent in a global economy, and also to anticipate ways that technology may alter those working relationships and the way work is done. Another thing that's really accelerating out there is more and more data is passing through the cloud. I mean, it's creating an easier access to information, which, by the way, millennials love. They love having easy access to information. So let's talk about demographics now. There are 4 generations out there working side by side now. You've got the traditionalists who are 60s, 70s. You have the baby boomers who are in their 50s and 60s. You have the X generation, which are in their 40s and 50s. And then you have the millennials, which are in their 20s and 30s. And lo and behold, right behind this is a new generation called the C generation, the connected generation, they're calling it. Then you're going to have 5 generations working side by side. So you need to understand how to work with all of them. And by 2025, which I'm really glad to see that most of you are using millennials today, millennials are going to make up roughly 75% of the workforce. 75%, that's a lot. And by 2020, there's going to be a global shortage of as many as 40 million skilled workers. The biggest thing I hear from CEOs today is that there's this, you know, they've got all these jobs out there and they can't find the people to match the skills that are required. And you think that's bad now? Just wait, it's just only going to get worse. And 1 in 2 workers are going to be part-time. Right now, 1/3 of the workforce is contingent. By 2020, it's going to be 50%. So let me ask you a question. Do you use part-time or temporary workers as a strategy for your business? And by the way, the key word there is strategy. And I don't mean just haphazardly hiring people. I'm talking about planning your workforce for the future. You know, I'm going into 2015. I need so many contingent workers and so many full-time employees. So are you doing that now? Yes or no? Okay, we've got the answers back. No. Well, I got to tell you, you should be. And you know, one of the things people still can't get out of their minds today when I talk to businesses, they can't get over the fact that they have to have full-time employees. They think every person that works in their company has to be a full-time employee. Not true today. It's so much better for your bottom line, for your workforce as a whole to have part contingent and part full-time. So start thinking more about that. So a little bit more about the demographics. Turnover rates are going to increase 25 to 30% in high-demand occupations. Right Management, a division of Manpower, did a study last year and found that 83% of the workers who participated in their survey said they intended to actively seek a new position in 2014. That's this year. So 83% of their workforce is looking for new jobs. That's terrible. I mean, it's cost you so much money to replace an employee today that you really don't want to lose them. And 91% of millennials expect to stay in a job for less than 3 years, according to Future Workplace. That means they will have 15 to 20 jobs in the course of their working lives. For millennials, job hopping can speed career advancement. In fact, according to a paper out by St. Olave's Sociology Department entitled Millennials' Expectations in the Workforce, says that changing jobs and getting a promotion in the process allows them to avoid the dues paying that can trap workers in a painfully slow ascent up that corporate ladder. Job hopping can also lead to greater job fulfillment, which is more important to Gen X or millennials, excuse me, Gen Y or millennial workers than it was to our previous generation. It also helps them find a positive culture and interesting jobs when they can job hunt to find exactly the job that's going to be of interest to them. So just know that millennials are job hoppers. So you really got to catch their interest in your values and your culture and how you engage them. Otherwise, you're going to lose them. The global economy is the third thing that's affecting the workforce today. And 95% of the population growth is not going to be in these three areas, which, by the way, it has been in the past. It used to be that Europe, the United States, and Japan were the fastest growing areas in the world. Now, our population in all three of these areas has decreased. The population around the world in places like China, Brazil, Russia, India, Singapore, Taiwan, and Hong Kong, that's where your population growth are expanding significantly. So that's where you're going to find a lot of your talent in the future. Also, have you noticed that the cities are starting to beautify their downtown areas? I just went to Detroit about a year ago, and oh my gosh, I didn't recognize the city. They brought back culture and parks and beautiful, city block areas. I mean, it's so different from when it used to be. I couldn't believe I was in the same city. LA, same thing. I see them taking large abandoned buildings and making them into beautiful lofts. They're attracting people. And by the way, how it applies to the millennials don't like to drive as much. In fact, a good friend of mine has a son who's 19 years old. I can't remember. In fact, I could probably count on 2 hands how many times he's actually driven somewhere. Because they don't like to drive, but they do want to be mobile. So they're moving to urban communities where people can be more physically active and becoming more socially engaged. They're getting out, seeing people bicycling, walking to the park. Homes in such live, work, shop, play environments are environmentally friendly, which the millennials absolutely love. So, what are the 8 things that you should be doing right now to keep your workforce? Before I get into the discussion on this one, I want to jump right to a question for you. Do you think that you learn better in a classroom setting or an online setting? And everybody out there, please answer this one because this will be a real interesting result. Okay, I'm still not getting a lot of answers, but for the guys who did answer this, you picked classroom. Well, that's exactly the answer I would have picked. I know it's hard to believe, especially for those who teach for a living, but the answer is no. It's online. The majority of research in this field indicates that students learn and retain information delivered at a distance or online as well, if not better, as in a traditional classroom. Many subjects, online and distant courses, can be designed to be far superior to the equivalent traditional classroom model by integrated learning and practice for established students. So, you know, I was just as surprised about this one as you probably are. But I got to tell you, with continuous and adaptive learning, leaders can help to create an appetite for agility and innovation. Virtual and interactive training is making education more affordable. Remember when you used to send your people to Chicago or Florida or Atlanta or San Francisco to get trained on a particular topic or leadership or whatever? And that cost a lot of money and took your employee away from the company for a period of time. Now you can do that all online, which is a lot less expensive. So an organization that's committed to employee development, continued education and learning will return to the organization's new skills and competencies, which reminds me of a conversation between a CFO and a CEO, where the CFO said, what if we invest in these people and then they leave us? And the CEO replied, yeah, but what if we don't and then they stay? So here's what happens. All those A players that are so good, you know, 10 years ago, you haven't developed them. You haven't developed their skills. And the way the world's changing, technology is changing, everything's changing so fast, they haven't caught up. They're way behind. So now instead of having A and B players in your company, you know what you got? You got C, D, and F. So the CEO's comment here, what if we don't and then they stay? Next, relationships with employees should be less standardized and more individualized. If your employees want to bring their own device, let them bring their own devices. You know, continuous skill development, knowledge acquisition, personal networks, and value-added work experience will be among the most highly valued benefits an organization can provide to their employees. In fact, according to Intel, high flexibility will become the prime motivator for millennials. Time-shifted hours, frequent sabbaticals, and results-only environments. Millennials love those. More numerous satellite offices for worker interaction, not a daily destination. Companies will work largely with individual contractors operating out of their homes. Guess what? When you're talking to a customer service rep, I don't care what company it is, do you know who you're talking to? You're talking to a housewife or somebody sitting at home, maybe in their pajamas or bathrobes, in their kitchen, talking to you. They're not in the office like we all think today because it's so easy to track those people, know what's going on, you can listen in on conversations. So just because they're virtual, they're not in your office, does that mean you can't control what they're doing and follow up on what they're doing?
Yeah, I want to weigh in here because I think your first 2 points, I think thinking about teaching and offering resources is huge, and I was one of those people, right, that said classroom and I think a bunch of money, and all of a sudden you think, gosh, could I put a list of 10, I don't know, TED Talks up there and encourage them to work towards that? Could I do that? And this whole relationship and flexibility is very encouraging, so thank you.
Certainly, certainly. You know, the millennials especially are looking for ways to get things done smarter in order to be efficient. They don't like to be inefficient. When they get inefficient, they get bored and frustrated, and they will leave. So it's not how hard you work, but rather how smart you work. So clean up those unnecessary processes and procedures that you've got in your company. Get rid of that 100-slide PowerPoint presentation that you give to all new employees. And, you know, think about how to engage these people more. In 3 more years, the C generation, as I said, is going to be entering the workforce. For this group, multitasking is like breathing. They will make very productive workers if you keep them stimulated. In fact, long projects, now listen to this, long projects focused on single tasks will cause them boredom and may cost you these employees. So here's 3 things that you can do real quickly. So I don't have these on a slide, so you may want to just jot these down or just ask Mark to send you these a little bit later on. But here's 3 quick things that you can do. Offer workplace flexibility. Remember what I said about millennials? They like flexibility. Well, flexible hours and generous telework policies are more important to the younger workers than salary. Get that? It's more important than salary. So offer this workforce flexibility. 2, listen to your employees. More than any previous generations, millennials crave the chance to contribute creatively to the company and have their ideas heard. They can't stand it when they don't feel part of the decision-making or where the company's going. So this helps them grow professionally in each position, which will entice them to stick around longer, since personal development is the main reason workers job hop in the first place. And 3, this is really important, communicate your company's mission and values. Increasingly employees want to work at a company where values match their own. And I got to give you an example. I couldn't believe this. Yesterday I was at an Indian restaurant for the first time. The food was fantastic. The service was fantastic. And so I asked my server, the waiter, I said, so why do you work here? He goes, oh, well, great people to work with. He said, I get to serve really good food instead of slop. And he says, people who come in here really love the food. So, here's a guy that's valuing the values of, a company that really develops really good food and, is a great, company to work for. So, teach these values to your employees. In fact, according to a survey done by Future Workplace, they found that 58% of millennials said that they would take a 15% pay cut in order to work for an organization with values like their own. So in order to maximize the number of your employees who achieve that goal and therefore stick around for the long haul, make sure to communicate those values. So here's a question for you. Is your organization highly flexible in your handling of employees? A, yes, B, somewhat, or C, no.
Well, now that I hear the standard, I'm thinking, I guess I'll say somewhat. Reason I was feeling a little more confident before you described it more deeply. So.
Hey, you're not the only one out there, Mark.
Yes, opportunity to attract these bright people our way. It's good.
Yep, and people answered it the same way you did, Mark, somewhat. And for the people who said yes, congratulations to you, because you are on the forefront of most companies out there. Okay, 3, engage your employees, empower them with social technology and analytics. And, if you want to attract really good people, have your employees use social media. Don't be a company that's no Facebook, no Instagram, no Twitter. Don't be a company like that, because all you're doing is hurting yourself, and you're hurting the possibility of trying to get the best millennial workforce out there. So stop it. Allow it to happen. You have to have some rules and regulations, but make it minimal. But allow them to be able to use this, because if the more you allow them to use their social networks, the more they're going to talk about what a great company you are. They're going to put you on Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest and all the sites that they're visiting, and they're going to say, wow, you need to come work for this company, or guess what's happening here at my company today. That's the news that you want out. I mean, your competitors are going to be green with envy when they see that kind of stuff. So allow that to happen. And if you do, you'll attract A players, because when you have a job that's available, okay, sure, you can go to Monster or some of those other places and put out an ad saying, I need this type of person for my company. Give it to your employees. Let them put it out on all their social networks. And guess what? A players attract A players. So you're going to get some really great people to interview. And if you don't, or, there's other things going on in your company, you may want to check out this site called the Glassdoor. The Glassdoor is where most I should say most, but probably a lot of employees today are going before they even apply or interview at a company. Glassdoor tells you all about what's going on in the company, the good, and mostly the bad. In fact, I know of quite a few employees that have read something online at the Glassdoor and said, I'm not ever going to go work at that company. So you need to be monitoring that if you're not already. But again, the more you restrict your employees, the unhappier they're going to be. And you know, I know you're all sitting there going, yeah, but now, you know, how do I monitor what's going on out there in all these social networks? Well, here's one solution. It's called Simply Measured. Simply Measured. And it takes all the information that's on all these social networks, and it brings all the information back to you into one dashboard. Makes it really easy for you to follow what's going on out there. So, good way to keep up. So, here's my question. Do you allow your workers to use social media? Yes or no?
Well, where's the maybe?
There is no maybe, Mark.
Do I allow it? Okay, I allow it. Do I feel comfortable with it? I'm a little less certain.
You see, yep. But if you do, hey, you're off to a good start. I mean, you just need to get more comfortable with it, because I have to tell you, you may not allow it or you don't like it, but guess what? People are doing it behind your back anyway. So you might as well allow them to do it, because then they're going to be happier with you and they're going to say nicer things about you. So, I applaud the audience today. Excellent. Most of you said yes. And I know you're a little bit trepid about letting them do that, but I got to tell you, it's a good thing today, especially with the workforce being more and more of your millennials and now the C generation coming up. You got to be able to allow them to do that. Okay, next, outsource those non-core functions. Unless you're a payroll company, your core business is not payroll. Outsource that. Outsource IT services, writers, website developers, call centers, manufacturing, graphic designers. You know, small entrepreneurial companies are more likely than large corporations to initiate offshoring of high-value functions, which is really interesting to me, because I thought it actually would be large companies. But 48% of companies with fewer than 500 employees reported that their first offshoring initiative involved product development, innovation, and engineering, as compared to only 16% for large companies. Now, countries to consider for your offshoring are Mexico, Brazil, Chile, China, India, Malaysia, Egypt, Russia, South America, South Africa. You know, India is still a very popular country as an offshoring destination. So again, and it doesn't have to be international. You can just do it right here in the United States, but outsource those functions, because it's just costing you a whole lot more money. And in the last decade, some companies have achieved savings between 20 to 70%. Hey, that's a lot more profit I'd like to see come into my company, as opposed to going out the door, you know, trying to supply that function internally. So think about it. So, do any of you use these outsourcing functions today? And I've listed some. There's probably others that you use, so I've got the last category as other, so you can check that one. But in this particular case, check as many as you want as apply to your company.
Yeah, it's not letting me. Too bad.
I'm sorry?
It's only doing one at a time, so for some reason it's not working.
Too bad. Well, let's see where the largest area is.
Yeah, this is certainly a place that I'll certainly throw in another advertisement for Pamela, because in here, these outsourced kind of functions, I certainly do all of those today from a convene perspective, and these other of outsourcing kind of next brainstorming, intellectual, strategic thinking into the organization. I've experienced members doing that with Pamela, and I've just heard great results. So again, that may be something you haven't thought about, but something I would encourage you towards.
Thanks, Mark. I see, and payroll, by the way, is the most common absolutely. The next one is website and IT services, so you guys are right on line with the majority of answers out there. Okay, let's talk about the contingent workforce. Remember what I said about how 50% of the workforce is going to be contingent by the year 2020? Well, currently it's 33%. Here we are at 2014. So another 6 years is going to be half of our workforce. So again, get it out of your head that you have to have full-time employees for every area of your company, because what you're doing is you're just creating more fixed costs. So, you know, the beauty of contingent workforces is to decrease those fixed costs and use workers when and where you need them. So let's talk about a couple of examples. Before giving an example, let me just tell you the statistics of the makeup of the contingent workforce, because I know you're all thinking these are probably older, retired people. That's not true, because right now 11% are traditionals. Those are the guys in their 60s, 70s. You've got 33% who are baby boomers in their 50s, 60s. You've got 36% which are Gen X, which are in their 40s and 50s. And then you have 20% of this contingent workforce are millennials. So in essence, 56%, more than half of this contingent workforce today is the younger generation. It's not the older, retired generation that you might have thought. So again, these are very skilled people who are out there, you know, hiring out their talents. Mm-hmm. So how do you use this? And let me give you a couple of examples. You got a great marketing staff, but yet you're not getting leads in. Your salespeople are crying for leads, but, you know, as far as your website, your social media, everything seems to be going well, but you just can't get more leads to come in. So you hire an expert. You hire somebody like an interim VP of marketing or interim chief marketing officer, or somebody that's really skilled on producing leads for companies. And you bring them in, and you don't hire them as a full-time employee. You bring them in for a short period of time. The leads start to go up. You have a great marketing staff, so you don't need to keep this person. Once they're on the upward trajectory, you can say, okay, thank you very much. Your skills have really helped my company, and you can let them go. There's no severance, there's no benefits, there's no nothing. They just leave, and now your existing staff take care of it. They maintain it.
See, now you need to tell your own story here, because you're eating your own cooking here. So tell your story, because here didn't you do this exact thing for yourself?
I did the exact same thing, because I actually did have a great marketing staff, and I didn't need somebody full-time, so I hired a part-time chief marketing officer to really, you know, get my marketing where it needed to be, especially on the lead side. And oh my gosh, it's made all the difference in the world. And again, I don't have to, I either keep him part-time, or I'm about to actually change chief marketing officers, because the next skill I need, he doesn't have. So I'm now going to bring on somebody different that's going to take my company to the next level. So
I love that story.
Another example is, you just can't get your profitability up. You've looked everywhere, you just can't find where you can, get more money going into the bottom line of your company. So you bring in, again, an expert in finance. You bring in a interim or part-time chief chief financial officer or controller that really knows how to look at the books, look at your company, and can go, oh yeah, look, these couple areas right here, you can cut your costs, you can do this, and you can whatever, and it'll make your bottom line grow another couple percentages. So again, bring these people in for the expertise that you need. Or another example is, and I'll use an IT example in this case, my gosh, you got an implementation going on with a new product that you brought on, an ERP system. And, oh, your IT director or VP of IT is pulling his hair out because he doesn't have enough time to do his own job, let alone run this project. So you bring in, again, an interim IT expert, and they run the project for you. Yep. And at the end of the day, when the project's all done and now it's gone smoothly, you let that person go, and your VP of IT takes over, and again, you haven't brought more fixed costs to your bottom line. You're just bringing on the talent when and where you need them. So, in essence, my summary on this is you can quickly adjust to changing global demand patterns. You can scale staff up and down efficiently to meet those shifts. And I got to tell you, if you can do this and change the mix of skill in your organization over time, it can help you absolutely kill off your competition, because most people are not doing this, and they really are only hurting themselves. So here's my question. Have you ever used a part-time or temporary executive or manager? Yes or no?
Yeah, I think that's one of those ones, again, that people think, oh, that's a good idea. I don't know how to do it. So I think, yeah, I'll just encourage them towards, you and more stories of how it works, because a worthy exploration from an executive position to learn about the kind of resources that are available there.
Yep. Okay, no. Well, you really need to think about it. I have to tell you, it doesn't cost you any more than a full-time employee. A lot of times, by the way, it costs you less than a full-time employee. And again, because this contingent workforce comes in, they're so focused on what needs to be achieved, they don't get caught in the minutia, the politics of what's going on in your company. They just get it done for you without all this outside interference. So you get it done quicker, you get it done better, and literally you don't have to add that fixed cost to your bottom line at the end of the day. So consider it. Okay, 6, mobile recruitment strategies. A recent study by Aberdeen Group said 70% of respondents said they have used their mobile devices to search for jobs, and 51% are already applying for jobs on mobile. 58% uploaded a LinkedIn profile to apply for a job. In 2012 Career Builder study, 1 in 5 employees who have mobile career sites reported that at least 20% of their applications came through mobile devices. And research is also showing that 40% of mobile candidates abandon, by the way, the application process when they're notified they're about to enter a non-mobile friendly application. So it's critical for organizations to embrace mobile to attract the top talent, because everyone that abandons your site could be an A player, and guess what? You just lost them because you don't have the ability to get on with your mobile device. So making it possible to apply for a position or provide information for a company's talent pool on a mobile device is more likely to result in better apply rates and candidate engagement. And keep in mind, this is candidate engagement. Again, we're talking about the millennials here that are very engaged online. And if you don't have it, you don't get them engaged. They'll get bored and they'll go away. So really important. And allow candidates to upload resumes from their device, Dropbox, Google Drive, or give them the option to save and complete their applications later. So here's the statistics. In 2012, social networks were hardly being accessed from smartphones and tablets, with these devices accounting for just 4.8%. A year later, in March of 2013, nearly 1 in 3 visits. So 29%, this whole mobile thing grew 29% in 1 year. I don't have the statistics for 2014 yet, but they got to be at least 50%.
That's like a 700% growth, yeah.
Exactly. And Apple, you saw what Apple just came out with. They came out with this new iPhone 6 that has the new Apple Pay. It's got all these health apps on it that monitor your health. I mean, people are going to be using their mobile devices more and more, and forget about, the computer or the laptop or whatever. They want to be able to see everything and do everything through their phone today. So again, if you're not incorporating these mobile recruitment strategies, you're really missing out today. So, you know what I'm going to ask you. Do you have a mobile strategy to attract talent? Yes or no?
A mobile strategy. Yeah, like my mobile strategy is moving.
So Mark, when you have new members or new chairs sign up with you, do you have a mobile strategy, or are you doing it by the paper again?
Well, again, our new website will all be, handheld enabled to allow that for ease of use rather than thinking it's the other way. But that's a fairly basic strategy today, so I would call us entering a little late, but certainly thinking about it.
Great. Well, for those of you who answered no, and I see 61% of you answered no, I would suggest that you really look into it. And by the way, everybody thinks that developing software, and this would obviously be developing some software or bringing in something that will attach to your site to be able to allow you to take applications. It's not very expensive today. There's applications already out there that you can tack onto what you already have that will help you do this for you. So don't think that you can't do it because it's too expensive. Get out there and explore the options that you have for these mobile strategies because they're out there. Okay, number 7, cloud computing. Use it wherever you can to give your people immediate access. Remember what I said about the millennials looking to be more productive? And if you don't give them access to immediate information when they need it, they'll become frustrated and look for a better and more engaging job that makes them look more productive. They will. They're going to leave you. So give them access to the information they need. And let me give you an example. By the way, I'm not selling. I'm not somebody that's sitting in the background selling and getting a commission for talking about Salesforce. But I got to tell you, I'm a big proponent. We use Salesforce. But my salespeople never go without having information at the tips of their fingertips. Here's a good example. They are out on the road and they need a real quick number, whether it's for a client, for contact, or whatever, and they didn't have time to put it into their contact list on their iPhone. So all of a sudden, they go into Salesforce, which is the app right on their phone, and they can dial the number right from that app. And when they're finished the call, that call is recorded in Salesforce, so you have a record of making that call. And, you're across from the client and they're asking for a brochure, for some information or an article. Literally, they can do it again right on their smartphone, right on their iPad, and literally send at that moment right across the table from the client that piece of information the client needs. I mean, this is information that they can absolutely have access to at all times. They want to know, what's the status of what's happening with a client. Are they happy? Did they fill out the survey? You can see survey results on Salesforce as to how they enjoyed, working with you. I mean, it's amazing what Salesforce offers today. And NetSuite is another one that does that. Workday, they have many SaaS-enabled devices or applications out there that literally give you the ability to access information.
And what's that one called? Did you say Workday?
Workday, NetSuite, Salesforce are three of the top 3.
Okay.
And if nothing else, you should at least be using Google Docs. At least put documents, brochures, information that your salespeople are going to need. That's the least you could be doing out there. Again, it's cloud accessible. It's not information that you should worry about as far as privacy and whatever somebody hacking into, but at least it gives your people information when and where they need it. So, rate your ease of access for your employees. Is it high? Is it medium? Or is it low?
It's kind of that mobile question again, right, which is trying to make it easy on your phone to get to stuff, because that's really where we live.
Yep. Okay, medium, good. I'm delighted to see that, really, because, again, we're all a little bit fearful of what's out there on the cloud, but you know, there's certain things that you just have to do in order to keep your employees engaged and interested in being with your company. So, you know, there's some basics here.
Yeah, I just think your idea again of that the millennials, this will be an expectation as we move into that 50% like you're talking about. So we have to prepare and be ready to execute because they'll just move another direction if we're not ready for them.
Yeah, and by the way, we're not far away from that because remember what I said, in 3 years, the new C generation is going to be coming in. So now you'll have 5 generations, and the majority of people are going to be in those 2 generations in your workforce. Okay, last but not least, if you do business globally, consider moving an office to a market where you can more easily find the talent. Remember what I said, that 95% of the population growth will be in emerging countries such as Brazil, Russia, India, Taiwan, Hong Kong, those countries. You know, everybody complains that they can't fill jobs today because they're looking in their local area. Well, it's going to become harder and harder and harder to find people in your local area. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to go internationally, but you're going to have to go outside because it's just not going to be possible for you to find the talent always in your local area. So just keep that in mind because, again, it's going to be tough. And if you do business globally, go where the talent is because the population growth is going to be more so in those emerging countries. Maybe you need to move somebody over to Hong Kong or to Singapore or to, you know, Russia or Brazil or you know, one of those countries that has the talent that you need. I know Apple and Google and, you know, a lot of your mid-sized companies are doing this today because they can't find the talent here and they need so much talent that they can't afford to bring all those people here, so they've taken the office there. So, do you seek talent internationally today? Let's see how many of you do business internationally.
I dream of international, but I can't even handle the domestic. Why would I even? So pretty funny. So we got to head for the finish line here, and
we are. I'm going to summarize in just a second, and I'm going to then turn it over to you, Mark.
Great.
Okay, no, okay, not a problem, but, you know, again, it's not just restricted to international. What I'm telling you is don't always look locally because it's going to become harder and harder to find talent in your local area. So let's summarize. You know, invest in your employees. Remember what I said, how cheap online training is now? Invest in that. It's real easy. It's really inexpensive. More individualized relationships with your employees. I mean, let them bring those devices. Give them more flexible environments to work in. Engage and empower your employees with that social technology. Let them get the word out about how great your company is. Outsource those non-core functions, the ones that are, you know, taking the profit off of your bottom line, you know, outsource them. Use contingent workers when and where you need them in areas where you need certain expertise or you need more bandwidth. Incorporate mobile recruitment strategies. And again, you better hurry up and do that. And there's apps out there now that allow you to be able to just tack that on to what you're doing now. So easy change. And use cloud computing to give your people access to information, and then consider an international office. Mark, thank you very much. And everyone attending, thank you very much for your attendance and your attention today. I really appreciate it. And Mark, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, thanks. So, you know, I live in Southern California, and in the Southern California world, we do a lot of surfing, and there's these waves that come. We call it outside. Outside, there's a big wave coming. This is a big wave, this whole millennial. Lots of the ideas are certainly applicable today, but I think they're just more important with where things are going. I certainly want to encourage you to contact Pamela. Here's her contact information. Cerius is an awesome partner. Certainly check out their website. They have some very interesting web-based opportunities coming their way for their clients. So lots going on there. And on the Convene front, we just pray a blessing on each of you that you might catch the vision that your work is worship, that God is happy when we know this is His story, And that means even blessing those millennials that are coming our way and helping them to be the participants in our business and help us grow our businesses in a way that honors God. So thank you so much. We just are going to have this done. We'll have it recorded. We'll send it out to you for your own viewing soon. And we'll see you in a month. And have a great day. Talk to you later.